Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. We are planning to introduce a new initiative, a series on anthropology optional. So as part of that, we are uploading a recorded anthropology orientation session that we had last week for your benefit. And here we'll throw some light on certain aspects of anthropology. For instance, what is anthropology as a subject? What are the different parts of the syllabus? What could be the benefits of taking anthropology as an option? And many other such aspects. So without further delay, let's get started. First of all, you have to understand that this is not biology, it is biological anthropology. Okay, it is not biology, it is biological anthropology. So we ought to learn some basics of biology. Which aspects are we going to talk about? Primarily genetics. Okay, primarily genetics, because you cannot understand inheritance without understanding genetics, right? There have been some scholars in the past, who did study and even write, some really, they've come out with some amazing laws without even understanding much about genes, right? But that takes a lot of trial and error. How many generations you will study, and then you'll note the patterns of inheritance, and then you'll come out with certain laws. And many of these laws we studied in school, way back in the day. Okay, but now we have a much better understanding. Okay, it has sort of this field has evolved to a large extent, starting from that DNA. Do you guys know this double strand DNA? Okay, DNA is something that you must have read quite a bit, especially in the last couple of years, with this virus coming in, right? So we'll take a look at this. So first, there are four aspects here. Okay, evolution. What is evolution? Variation, genetics, and applications. So we'll take a look at each of these things in a very sort of quick, short manner. Okay, in case you have further questions, we'll do it once the course starts. Okay, but just get a flavor for what it is. See, evolution. What is evolution? See, I remember during I was sort of politically I'm politically interested. Okay, I like following politics. I remember that during one of the elections and during university time, it was Bill Clinton and Chelsea Clinton had come to a university. Okay, and Chelsea Clinton spoke to us in the afternoon, and then Bill Clinton had a big town hall just outside of a town a little while later. Okay, and I remember, so my college is a very strong, it's got a very strong science and technology sort of a program. When she came here, I did not see her speak the same sort of language when she spoke, when I see her on TV or something like that. She was talking more about science. Then I realized that, okay, maybe she's like sort of catering to, the right audience. Okay, because we are, probably because we are from a strong program of science and technology in our university. But she made a very interesting note that I remember after many years as well. She said, the Republicans who are contesting, okay, Hillary Clinton, her mother, she's part of the Democratic Party. The Republicans on the other side who are contesting, right? 11 of them were contesting, and she said the moderator had asked them a question. Unlike in India, you will notice that they will have a stage. Okay, they'll have these debates. All of them who are contesting will be standing. There will be a question that is posed, and they will have a proper debate. Okay, it's called presidential debates. If anybody is interested, please do go to YouTube and check it out. Very interesting. Okay, you can watch Obama during his time. You can watch George Bush. Before that, there are amazing debates. In that, one of the questions that was posed is that how many of you actually believe in evolution? And I remember the number even now. Okay, she said 3 of them did not even believe in evolution. 3 of them did not believe in evolution. First of all, why is that important to be asking a presidential candidate? Okay, I did not understand the importance of that, the significance of that. But here is, in especially in Orthodox communities amongst Christianity, they believe that Earth was created by God. We are placed here on Earth, from Adam and Eve's time. We did not evolve from those monkey and ape kind of figures all the way till today. So what we have studied, based on what Charles Darwin had said and subsequent sort of many scholars have said and provided us with evidence, today we consider that as accepted. But prior to that, it was not very well accepted. If you say anything against the social, political, and religious establishment at that point, you guys know what happened to many of these scholars, many of these scientists who had said, the Earth is not spinning around the sun is not spinning around the Earth, right? The world is flat. It is not flat, sorry, right? What do they think? Either you could be punished, or sometimes you could be thought of as, a crackpot, right? At this particular point, even professors who were in Cambridge University, they had all come out to this calculation, and they basically said that the Earth was created, mind you, there is no, Big Bang theory, there's no billions of years, nothing of that sort. Earth was created in 4004 BC, something along those lines. In fact, the scholars, they took that Bible and then they calculated the number of generations there and the generations therein, some calculation. In fact, they even said October 23rd, 9 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. I think it's 9 a.m. Okay, 4004 BC is when the Earth was created, and it was created by God. So for a long duration, we did not even accept evolution. But now today, in the 21st century, it is very rare for people to not understand or accept this. Okay, that is a religious debate. That is a different thing, right? In every religion, you have some theories, right? If you ask your grandmother or great-grandmother, she'll probably tell you these stories. Okay, in Manu, you guys know about this Hiranyagarbha. That is what my grandmother used to tell me. The golden womb from where all of life started. Then you have Brahma, the creator. Right? There are many of these. Now let's take a look at this. Have you guys seen this picture before? And can you tell me in one short, crisp line in the chat window, what does this suggest? What does this suggest? Evolution of man, Hannah. Okay, great, wonderful. A man evolution from ape, Maina. Okay. And Kanchana says evolution of humans. Okay, wonderful. So who's this? Many times we may have heard that, man evolved from ape, right? Maybe this is chimpanzee or something, and then this becomes human. Is that right? Actually, no. I know. Everybody believes this. Okay, a lot of people actually have a common misunderstanding. You might accept evolution, but not necessarily in the right manner. This is not your chimpanzee. It is not your gorilla. It is nobody that you think. In fact, all of these are apes, by the way. But the way it is that the chimpanzee and the human, that is this guy or us, me or you, we just have a common ancestor. We have a common ancestor. What does that mean? It means, can you see this here? Look at the top right-hand corner. You see this? We are all part of the ape family. Okay, and the chimpanzees are here, the humans are here. The chimpanzees did not become the humans. However, okay, around 7 million years ago, this axis is basically the time period. Around 7 million years ago, 5 million, 8 million, depending upon the source, we had a common ancestor. We don't know who it was. But then there were certain groups of people who lived in the rainforest, lived in thick jungles, right? Climbing up the trees, arboreal life, basically like living on the trees, climbing, swinging, jumping, all of that. And then there was a certain group of people who left the thick rainforest and moved to the savanna, the grasslands. Have you guys seen grasslands? It is just grass. Grassland is something that you will see in National Geographic a lot. There will be like sparse vegetation, just like grass. And then there'll be like this one beautiful tree. Okay, it'll be an acacia tree or something, and then sunset photos will be there. Right? Savannah, perfect. So the people who went into the grasslands, we are not living on trees. Okay, our ability to climb, I'm sure that many of you, in your childhood, you were able to climb trees really well, but not like our chimpanzees and gorillas. Gorillas are actually kind of heavy, orangutan, lesser apes, right? We don't have that ability because we evolved in a different sort of an environment. We are not going to be on 4 limbs. Okay, I can't do this here because, but do you understand what is 4 limbs? How many limbs do we walk on? Only 2. We walk only on with the feet. Feet will be touching our ground. But many of them, they will have to use their 4 limbs as well. Okay, some will have knuckle walking. Some will have palm walking. So do you understand? So this picture is basically saying, okay, that from this ancestor, from here, there has been a lot of difference. It does not mean chimpanzee became human, but our common ancestor was there, and some in a different environment, we evolved to become humans, some evolved to become chimpanzees. Okay, again, we'll go deep into all of these things. So the first person who came out and talked about this is Lamarck. Lamarck is something that some of you may already know, right? His theory, and while it is discredited, quite a bit today, but it was still important because he did a systematic study. He had evidence, he had a theory, he had a hypothesis, and he went against the church in a confident manner to say, no, the giraffe has evolved in a manner that its neck length has become much longer. And how does he explain that? Over a period of time. Let's say a lot of them are short like this, almost like a, what is this, like a zebra or possibly like a horse? Not much different, right? Okay. At this particular height, can you see my cursor as well, where I'm pointing? Can you see the cursor? Okay. So let us say it is only to this particular height, all of them on this particular height. So the leaves at this height are going to be, there's a lot of competition for it. So what they do is that they try to extend. Thoda sa stretch karo. Okay, you push it up a little. Okay, you extend, stretch. What happens? Okay, it has grown by an inch. And then eventually, then this also gets exhausted. Then maybe this, a little more and little more. And the more and more you stretch over a period of time, okay, that has gotten your neck to be of such a long length. Does that make sense? Now, this theory is not necessarily correct. I'll just tell you that right away. But seems quite plausible. In fact, it is not important from that perspective that the theory was wrong, but it is more important and more significant when it comes to history in this entire scientific field, because it went against the popularly held belief of the religious establishment and showed the first proof, or at least the first hypothesis, that evolution is happening. Subsequent scholars now, emboldened by Lamarck, they come out with other theories. By the way, this is Charles Darwin. Have you guys heard of the name Charles Darwin? What is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say Charles Darwin? Does anybody, anything that sort of occurs to you? Okay, okay. See, Charles Darwin came out with the island, survival of the fittest, beautiful, survival of the fittest. Okay, excellent. Okay, you hit the nail right on the head. Survival of the fittest. So he basically talks about this idea called natural selection. He talks about survival of the fittest. If any of you have heard of it, right? There are only some that will sort of survive in a particular place. Okay, and the fittest is going to be the one that is surviving. And I'll give you a quick story about him also, right? So in fact, his family was extremely wealthy. They wanted him to become a doctor, 1820s, but he did not have the heart for it. Just like all Indian parents, even his parents were sort of disappointed that he did not take up. His father was a doctor, and he did not have what it takes to become a doctor. And he ended up becoming interested in natural sciences and certain other things. In fact, it is difficult. I can understand, this was a time when you had to do surgery even before anesthesia. Anesthesia had not been developed for another 20 years. So imagine having to do surgery with your patient like screaming and squealing in pain. Okay, it definitely is harder. So while he might be an extremely intelligent person, medicine was not his cup of tea. But look at the field that he went into. Okay, and he went on this one particular boat trip across the earth. Can you guys see this? South America. And from South America, he went to Galapagos Islands, right? And he basically studied a species of birds, right? And then he found out that all of these birds in different islands, while they're part of the same parental species, right, they have developed different types of beaks. For instance, let us say it's like a small little, I don't have my pad connected right now, but let's say that in one environment you need to have it's like a woodpecker kind of an environment. Okay, you have these thick trees in which you have to like sort of drill holes in them and then be able to take out those worms. Okay, that is one kind of environment. Another environment, let's say it's like just beautiful flowers, nectar. Okay, have you guys seen hummingbird? Very thin, slim kind of a beak, right? If you change the environment for each of these, interchange them, the thin slim beak will not be able to survive in an environment where it is like for a woodpecker kind of a bird. The woodpecker kind of a bird will not be able to sort of survive in an environment where it is only like small little flowers. So depending upon where they migrated, there are certain ones who were who had the best sort of features, who were the fittest in that environment. And they are the ones who could survive there. They could probably live there. They could possibly mate there. They could probably produce a lot of, offspring. And in subsequent generation, in 1,000 generations, you notice that every bird in that environment of these small flowers and nectar, okay, they became, slim and thin. Every sort of bird that was, 1,000 generations later in an environment like a woodpecker kind of an environment would probably, you'll notice that all the birds had some thick, strong, sturdy sort of beaks. Does that kind of make sense? So basically, all I'm saying, without delving too deep into exactly survival of the fittest or variation or natural selection, what I'm suggesting is there is a progression from not accepting evolution to accepting evolution, but under sort of false premises or incorrect sort of hypothesis, to understanding the real reason or the logic behind evolution. Even evolution has a process of evolution. So these are finches, these birds. Similarly, amongst fish, okay, even in fish, you will see different variation. For instance, let us say we can take size. Fish, there have been studies that show that there have been certain kinds of fish, same species, you have tiny ones, you have large ones, you don't have medium-sized ones. You can apply the same sort of thought. How do they evolve? If you're smaller in size, it is easy for you to sort of escape from your predator. If you're much larger in size, you can stand your ground and be able to fight your predator. If you're in the middle, neither are you very swift and quick and agile and nimble, okay, enough to sort of get away from your predator, and neither are you strong enough and big enough to be able to stand your ground and fight against that. So who will be the fittest here? Either the ones who can take off and not get killed, or the ones who can stand their ground and fight. So that same fish became either very small, or very large, and not somewhere in the middle. Humans too, right? Our skin tone, a very good example, right? All of us, and I've not met most of you, right? I've not met any of you, rather. All of you, you will notice that while most of us have some shade of brown, it is not the same shade of brown, right? In India, if you take a look at it, the variation when it comes to skin color and skin tone is a lot. But let's take a look at not just variations within brown. Take a look at this. Okay, one extreme you have Africans or African American or whoever that person is with a lot different sort of a skin tone, and definitely the left hand side is different from right hand side. Yes, is that clear? Can anybody tell me the reason why? So evolution is done. I'm asking you about variation. We understand the variation amongst human species. Why is it that the Western Europeans, they look a lot different from, let us say, the Africans, and even within Africans, you will notice that the East Africans, especially Kenya, Uganda, northern Tanzania, they are very different. They make very good sort of long distance runners. West Africa, they are the ones who migrated primarily to your countries like Jamaica and all of that. They make a very good fast sprinters. So even within that place, they're very different. In fact, if you come to the Democratic Republic of Congo, there is another group called the Pygmies. Have you guys heard of Pygmies? Pygmies are much smaller, okay, when it comes to their stature. Variation. Humans don't look the same. Why so? I see a lot of answers. Okay, so look at this: melanin pigment, climate. Exactly. So assuming tropical areas, and you have temperate or polar regions. In tropical areas, sunlight is a lot more. Okay, and there are a certain amount of sun rays that are not necessarily good for you, right? And this is like all pre, what do you use that? SFP 30, 50, what is that? Sunscreen, basically, right? So this is a time in which a lot of exposure to your skin to the harmful UV rays from your harmful rays of the sun can possibly result in your skin cancer, okay, skin tumor, a lot of these issues, right? SPF, sorry, all of these. So this particular skin tone will have a lot better protection in these tropical areas. In tropical areas, this left-hand person is the fittest. So when you apply survival of the fittest, this person is going to rock it when it comes to tropical regions of the earth. When it comes to the polar regions, it is not that it becomes a disadvantage. When you go to the northern latitudes, you will start noticing, further latitudes from the equator, you will start noticing that you need a certain amount of sunlight entering. You have to produce vitamin D using your, again, gross oversimplification, your skin may. And when you do that, what happens? Vitamin D production, calcium absorption. So for a healthy functioning sort of a human, okay, in the polar latitude, you need to have a lighter skin tone for you to be the fittest, because then you can produce vitamin D and then have calcium absorption. You'll have strong bones, strong teeth, and whatever it requires for you to be healthy individual. So variation also has this biological sense to it. Okay, so we cannot think that, oh, we have this feeling, right, that, lighter the skin tone, there are a lot of these products that are in the on the news that you see, advertisements and celebrity endorsements and all of that. Lighter is better. No, if you're living in tropical region, the fittest is this, right? If you're in, the polar or temperate regions, then lighter skin tone gives you some form of advantage, right? I hope that is clear. This is your variation. The variation can be of different size. In fact, can you see the difference in the hair texture? Can you see the difference in hair texture? Why is that? So for instance, again, even that has a reasoning, right? So when you have, like a frizzled kind of a hair, as opposed to a wavy kind of a hair, this gives you much better protection from the direct sunlight. In the tropical region, that gives you an advantage. That is a big advantage, right? That is your variation. Evolution ho gaya. Variation is also done. Next is genetics and application. This is going to be 90% of your biology that is required. Okay, one or two other topics that I might be skipping, but pretty much everything. The only bio that you have to know is that there is, and I'll go from the very basic. Okay, starting from, like, assuming that absolutely no science also, it should be okay, because it is not biology, it is biological anthropology. So look at this. You have cell. Inside a cell, are you guys aware that there is a nucleus? Okay, if you're not aware of it, understand right now that within a cell you have a nucleus, and within the nucleus you have these X looking somethings. What is it? It is a chromosome. Okay, and in this chromosome is what you have, this tightly sort of bound double helix structure. This is your DNA. Okay, and parts of this DNA are your genes. This could be from here to here, could be your gene 1, this could be your gene 2, this could be your gene 3. Some of these genes might even contribute to your skin tone, whether it is like very light pale white, is it like very dark, is it some shade of brown, all of these. This is your genetics. Okay, and how does inheritance matter? Okay, some part of it will come from your father, some part of it will come from your mother. How exactly? So see, just because you get it from your father and mother does not mean that you look exact replica of your brother or of your sister. Are you the exact same? No, you're not, unless you're identical twins. Okay, in that case, that is an exception. But otherwise, you're similar, but it does not mean you're the same, right? You're not 100% identical, right? You might have similarity in height, you might have similarity in skin tone, you might have similarity in features, your nose, your eyes, those kind of features, but you're not the same. How do you do that? If you know a little bit of genetics, you can probably understand the mechanism. Very simple. But what is more important is to understand the applications of genetics. Okay, I'll give you a very simple sort of this is it's an interesting story. Last year, do you guys know that there was I think it was last year, there was a murder of this veterinarian, I believe, in Shamsabad, in outskirts of next to the airport in Hyderabad. I think her name was Priyanka. She makes a call to her elder sister or something, saying that, hey, my scooty ran out of petrol. I'm unable to find it. I have to go find petrol, but however, I don't feel safe here. She makes that call, then, and then I think within a little bit, her sister tries to call her back and she cannot reach her. Okay, and then they had to go and file a case, and then they found out that, they couldn't find her alive. Okay, they couldn't find her alive. And then what happens is the next morning, I think it was the milkman or somebody, right? Milkman or somebody who went and he actually found, a completely charred body that was found. Very, very sad sort of a thing that had taken place, right? A charred body was found. Even a charred body, a completely charred body, maybe. Okay, even in that, if you have your tooth hai na, in your tooth, under that, you have the roots, you'll still be able to get some form of DNA that is present. So I can even say, using science, that this is Priyanka. This indeed was Priyanka. Okay, but if she's completely charred, maybe all the bodily fluids, the skin cells, okay, of those perpetrators, okay, those things might have even got sort of destroyed. But I don't think, it could have been completely charred. It's very difficult to completely char a body. Semen would have been found on the site unless, they had used some sort of protection, right? But however, they did not catch those guys based on the basis of DNA. they actually found those people because I think these guys were, stupid enough to go close by and collect, I think in a can or something like that, a good amount of petrol. And then later on, the police went and they could, I mean, it was like very simple. Okay, CCTV. Immediately they grabbed them. They brought them. I think they were in police custody, judicial custody, or police custody, one of those custodies. And they were taken to recreate the crime. And I remember this thing because somebody told me that this could possibly one of those cases of encounter, but it was high profile case. I actually didn't believe that such a high profile case they would do that. But the next morning that I found out that actually it was an encounter. I don't know if you guys know about this particular case. There are multiple cases like this. One of the applications of genetics could even be to catch a criminal. However great the criminal is, okay, today it becomes extremely difficult to get away. Even the smallest of your remains, smallest of your tiny little remains can still identify the person. There are many very, very interesting sort of stories. In fact, this is the first case, but due to paucity of time, I'll probably keep it to another day, right? Because there are some other aspects also that I want to discuss. But one of the interesting, I'll give you another example though. There was, there are many cold cases. Do you guys watch any of these crime shows? Crime shows, you will see, there'll be these cold cases, in which, some sort of, murder or something like that had taken place, rape, murder, serial murderer, all of that in the 1970s, 1960s, 1980s, all of that would have been there. Okay. But however, it was not solved. But those cases are not closed. You can reopen them. In fact, there are many in which you recently see. In fact, there was a recent case that I had seen. I think it was a Golden State murderer. 13 rapes, 13 murders, and 50 rapes he had committed, but he had not gotten caught. In fact, he was gotten caught at the age of 80. What happened was, he, after that, they never caught him. They had a little piece of his DNA, but his DNA was never in the police database. But you guys know there are these websites in which you can take a cotton swab, okay, take a little bit of a cheek, Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix. I think there was a recent one that has been released that, I understand what you're talking about. So, you take a little bit of your saliva, pack it, and then send it. They can actually do a DNA test. Okay. And they will be able to tell you, how many generations, what are your genes like? Are you prone to some sort of a disease? There are so many things that you can have. In fact, they try to utilize that 1970s, this murder related cases, Golden State serial murder. In case you're interested, you can take a look at that. They sent it to one of these companies under a fictitious name, saying that, Mr. X or something like that, and then you send that DNA. And they found out that this person's DNA is not there, but his granddaughter or somebody like that had, tried to test herself. Okay. And through that, what did they find? Of course, the granddaughter is the one, but she cannot be. But however, it even narrowed the search all the way from, a large population of people living in 1970s to just one family. In that family, there were only like 2 or 3 people who were living in California at that particular time period in the 1970s or 80s. Okay. In fact, only one of them was living in that particular area, and he could be the murderer. And he was caught at the age of 80, okay, using DNA. So biology or genes and inheritance, while it's very interesting, it has some utility as well. Okay, and this is something that you'll be reading in the newspaper also. There is a recent bill that we have, DNA fingerprinting bill, that we are trying to pass. So these are just the snippets of this module. There's a lot more in this module, obviously, to explore further. Do check out the playlist to know more about anthropology. If you found these modules to be interesting, then definitely do consider anthropology as an option for you as well. It might work out well for you for your UPSC mains. If there's any other aspect of anthropology that you'd like to know more about, do let us know in the comment section, and we'll try to make videos on those. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.